Gonna go over some repetitive patterns. We'll come back to this one. This is two separate images of the same exact identical burn pattern, where these are both square posts with a perfect straight line burn going down the manufacturer's edge. We'll come back to that. One of them is one that I took and that I have in my possession. The other one's a image sent to me by Robert Brain. But first I'm going to show a few more of these patterns, like what we saw from Israel just a couple days ago, where the trunk of the tree burns and the limbs are not burning. And it appears to have burned all the way down into the ground. You can look down in there. And then I showed you other examples that I've taken previously of the same patterns of the trees blown outward from the trunk, where the trunk burns. The roots are gone. It's still got foliage, leaves on the limbs, but at the base of the tree, it's hollowed out, where it burns from the ground, from the center of the tree, and blows the rest of the tree outward in all directions. I'll show you a couple more examples of this from previous videos that I've taken. That's the base of the tree, burnt on the inside, blowing the limbs outward. That's from the video I took yesterday, 100 plasma fires in Israel. And in that video from yesterday, 100 plus plasma fires in Israel, someone left me a link to a video that they posted 3 months ago from the Malibu Palisades fire with the same pattern.
This is what I was talking about. Check this out. It didn't burn. Except at the base here. Look at that. That's not normal, honey. I need to get a shovel or dig into this. Because there's something going on here. There's something more to this. How does this burn from the ground and doesn't set the thing on fire? Look at this. I could light that with a lighter and it refused to catch fire. You see this home down here. It's burned out with no transmission line to it. None of this makes any sense. The ground was supercharged. My bet was directed microwave energy.
I'll agree with him about the part that the ground was supercharged. Notice the ground is scorched black, but that's not actually burnt leaves or weeds on the ground. It's the ground itself. The dirt is scorched black. And when he goes and kicks it right here, you can see just beneath the top surface, there's brown dirt. We know about the solar storms, Mr. BP Earthwatch. But then he pans around and shows you the ground a little more, and you can see how scorched the ground is. Let's get to the part. I kind of jumped forward too far. Look at the ground. Scorched black. The dirt itself is burned, with unburned leaves right on top of the dirt. Links will be in the description and the pinned comment to all of these. This one's titled Plasma Fire 102, The Truth Will Set Nutball Free from the Tyranny of Cognitive Dissonance and His Own Ignorance, or something to that effect, because I was dealing with some clown in the comments section saying these trees burn on the inside because they're dry. You can see I don't have to go far. And I'm going to show you this tree, this one, that one, and there's one just the other side right there, and they're all split open right in the middle. Notice you can still see the leaves on this one. And you'll see that the center is burnt out just like the others, blown out from the middle. On the inside. So here's one. You can see this log, the whole base is burnt to a stump. Right here. Burned on the inside, unburned on the outside. Hollowed out. Inconsistent burn pattern. That's the smaller telltale sign that we see everywhere. This branch is burnt right on the tip. The other telltale sign. And let's go check out some more. This one's got the same thing. And the reason it's only the big trees is because they have deeper roots. Here, again, unburned, spotty burning. Completely burnt out. Oh, the sun's kind of messing with me there, but completely burnt out here. Unburnt right there, burnt on both sides. So some people, denial goes deep, and they'll tell themselves, and they'll try and tell other people through the comment section, nutball, big shout out to you. There, burnt on both sides. So some people, denial goes deep. I just wanted to rewind it and pause it right here. This is a good one. I show you about 5 or 6 others. Again, link will be in the comment section so you can see this repetitive pattern for yourself. But I just thought I'd show a few more examples of it, because what we saw in Israel the other day, that's no longer an anomaly. That's a repetitive pattern. That's just how these fires burn. Notice the leaves on this tree on the ends of the limbs as we walk up. And at the center is burnt out and blowed out, just like the samvartaka video that I showed on yesterday's presentation. Blowing the limbs outward, burning at the base. Fire don't do that. This new kind of fire does that. See if we can come up to this next one. Show you the same thing again. Leaves all over it. If this is the one with the leaves all over it. And blowed out at the center. And you see it took a big old chunk out of that limb, yet left the unburned wood right next to it. And so I go through and I show you a bunch of these same trees, same pattern as what we saw in Israel yesterday, where the limbs are blown off of the trunk of the tree, hit the ground with their leaves still on them. Come on, show us the leaves. Gonna walk over, probably show you another one here, same exact pattern. You can see some leaves on the left-hand side over there as we walk up. Now it's all pixelated, there you go. But yeah, you can see there's still leaves on the end of the branches. Tree burned out from the middle. Showing you size reference there. Link will be in the description. Truth will set nutball free. Plasma Fire 102. This is a recap that I just uploaded maybe a year ago from 2022, 4 years after the plasma fire of 2018. Show you another example of the same burn pattern here. We'll go check that one out. See, this one, it's blown out from the middle. So this is a follow-up video from a fire that happened 4 years ago. And the fact that, see, it blew half this tree off. The other half of the tree is laying over there. Unburned limbs all over it. When it first happened, it had unburned leaves on those limbs. But this is burned out hollow. To burn that thick wood right there, yet leave unburned leaves. And there's the unburned. And I've probably got 5 other videos with the same pattern where they burn at center mass, blowing the limbs right off the tree, leaving limbs on the ground with unburned leaves on them. These are just a couple that I could recall right offhand. So that's a repetitive pattern. Now we're going to look at the repetitive pattern of these square posts. This is from the video titled Plasma Fire 101 that I just uploaded a few months ago. And it's a compilation of previous videos that I've taken. This square post came from my neighbor's house when his house caught on fire. And as you can see, it's got that straight line burn right along the manufacturer's edge on that one side. Both the other sides are completely unburned. And I even go over an explanation of how this works, how it's like a shadow line. Come on, turn it to the other side. Show us the other burn line. The other burn line overlaps the manufacturer's edge by a ½ inch. That's based on the angle that the electricity was traveling. Like a shadow line hitting a square post. If you hit it from straight on like this, from one side, you're only going to hit one side. I point towards, maybe I should just turn it up.
Square post shoved under the ivy. The ivy didn't grow over.
The firefighters broke that square post off and shoved it under the ivy to hide the evidence. In that video, I show clips from the neighbor's house fire where that came from, along with the telephone poles that are burned on one side with a perfect straight line following the wire, the grounding wire that goes up the telephone pole. Both those telephone poles have the same burn pattern going up them, burned on one side like a shadow, like a light line, like the heat, like a red hot heat lamp came from the left-hand side, which creates a perfect straight line of a shadow. Same thing on both of the telephone poles right there, same thing on the square post that was standing right next to them. Here you'll see it's the grounding wire that burn line follows. And there's a little strip of molding over the top of it. That's the grounding wire. And it perfectly splits the piece of molding that's over top of the grounding wire, burning it on one side and not on the other. All the way up. For some reason it's looking a little blurry and out of focus right now. But I know it gets better than that. Why is it looking so blurry? And here's a picture and a text message sent to me by Robert Brame where you can see the same exact pattern. The square post burnt with a perfect straight line edge right along the manufacturer's edge. I'd be curious to see the other side of this post. I suspect it has a very similar straight line burn on the opposite side, possibly overlapping the manufacturer's edge by a ½ inch one way or another, probably this way. Because this one went all the way to the manufacturer's edge, the other one might stop a little bit short. That's how the one that I have was. Robert also sent a few other images. You can see that the burning is right around the nails. The nails are a conductor of electricity. Right here, another example of the same thing. The nails or the screws being a conductor of the electricity. I know he's got a couple better ones. The rust, electrolysis, using the smoke as a medium of ion exchange, and that's according to an idea that came from Mental Boost, who's a metallurgist and understands metal the way that Robert understands trees. So these are just a few images Robert sent me, but I wanted to cover that one because I've got probably 100 different examples of the pattern where the tree burns at the base, leaving the limbs of the tree on the ground with unburned leaves. I have 2 examples of these square posts burning with a straight line right along the manufacturer's edge. So I thought that was worth making a pattern video. Here he's showing you once again the hollowed out tree, and you can see unburned leaves at the bottom left. For some reason I'm not able to zoom. The unburned leaves and the hollowed out tree burnt and fell over. Fire don't do that. This is electricity coming up to the ground. The fire doesn't just focus on the area where the nails are and leave the other area unburned. There's another good example. I've got some similar examples of exactly that. That's the edge of a guardrail alongside a road where the guardrail post burned right where the metal bolt that connects it to the guardrail goes through the wooden post. Here's another example. A fence. Right where it comes together and has nails attaching the vertical and the horizontal beams is the only place where it burned. Everywhere else is unburned. Electricity. All of these things point towards electricity. The same directional flow and the way I got the idea. It was from right here. It was right here, and this gives me a chance to show off all my plasma wood that we'll look closer at later. There are some new cool ones that offers a lot of new understandings. But it's as I was sitting here looking at this, notice it's light on this side and dark on this side. And it looks just like those power poles where they're burnt on one side. In this case, it's dark on the left and light on the right. They're burnt on one side. This one actually came from my neighbor's house, where I'm going to show you there were 2 telephone poles, only burnt on one side. That side overlaps a little bit. This side runs perfectly along the manufactured edge, like a shadow line. And that's what I'm showing you here. It burns exactly like a shadow line on a square post or on a round post. In this case, you can see that it's perfectly unburned on this side, right to the edge, all the way down. Perfectly burned on this side, right to the edge, all the way up. So this burn line runs perfect along the manufacturer's edge. Okay? This other one overlaps that manufacturer's edge by about 1 inch, but still runs a straight line all the way down. And overlaps that manufacturer's edge by 1 inch. So, in the case of understanding this as a shadow, the light is coming from either here, the light bulb, or there, doesn't really matter. It's coming from that direction and hitting this round pipe, whether it be a telephone pole or a stovepipe, creating a shadow line exactly 90 degrees off of the light source. So it lights up this side of a round post, and right there at the edge, the light beams miss it and go right by it. So there's a straight line. If that were a burning hot light coming from that direction, it would burn on that side with a straight line coming down. That's exactly what happened to 2 of the telephone poles we're about to look at my neighbor's house with the straight line burn, where I took this post from that you're also going to see in the same video at my neighbor's house where the 2 telephone poles are. This post matches what you would see as a light shadow as well. From this direction, you're only going to hit with the light one side. Anywhere from right here, you're hitting both sides with the light. Clear over to here, you're still hitting both sides with the light, pretty much evenly. Right here, you're only hitting this side with the light. If the light's coming directly from the camera, you're only hitting one side now. 2 sides from this point, clear over to this point. You're still hitting 2 sides with the light. From right there, it's directly in alignment with the light source if the light is the camera, and you're only hitting one side. In the case of this burn, you hit both sides. Anywhere from right here, you would only burn this side. If it was a light coming from the outside, you would only burn this side. From this point, you'd be burning both sides with the light coming from the camera if it was a red hot light. Clear over to here. If it was a red hot light, you'd still be burning both sides. Right there, you would only be burning this side. And I believe I can tell you exactly where the angle of light came from because it overlapped this side by 1 inch, but it burned this side perfectly. Did not overlap at all. Right down the manufacturer's edge, up and down. So that means the light source came from, instead of directly in alignment with this corner, a little bit more this way. That's why it overlapped this edge and left this edge perfect. Because the light source, if you will, and I don't think it was a light source, I think it's the grounding source is directly in alignment with the camera. But instead of being directly in alignment with this corner, it was over this way, just about right here. This is the angle this square board got hit from if it were a light from the outside. That's why it overlaps this edge a little bit and leaves that edge perfect, because it's just a little bit left of center. Instead of center with the corner, to burn both sides evenly, it hit from this angle if it were an external light source coming from the outside. I believe it's an internal light source coming from the inside, grounding outward, usually towards the sun. Like I told the old man down here that was a plasma fire denier.
Okay, I don't know about all that sun stuff, but you get the idea. The internal light source is electricity. Electricity only burns where it enters and where it exits. If you get hit by lightning, there's a burn mark on your head where it entered and a burn mark on your foot where it exited. I believe the electricity is coming up through the board and exiting. Instead of the light hitting it from the outside, the light, electricity, is coming from the inside and exiting the wood in a specific direction, which creates that light shadow phenomenon.
These have been clips from a video titled Illustrating Directional Flow of Undirected Energy, where I go through some of these pieces of wood
And then out in one direction, or the other option is that it comes in from that direction. But I think I've pretty much provably shown
where I show you these pieces of wood demonstrating some of the same patterns. You can see right there the line, the burn side of each one of these branches is the same side. They all have a straight line burn along them as well. Link will be in the description if you care to educate yourself on the subject.
or is this more of a natural release phenomenon? Because if they direct your attention, proves it was a plasma fire. And that begs the question, were those directed energy weapon attacks? Or is this more of a natural release phenomenon? Because if they direct your attention, more like a directed attention weapon, to direct your attention toward these directed energy, so you think it's all under control, someone's pulling those levers. Because if you direct your attention towards a pole shift, you think that's out of control, and then you become out of control. The public becomes out of control. So I'm going to show you.
On that note, let's recover a video I titled Laser Strikes Bridge 18 Times in Spanish Fork, Utah, Flameless Forest Fire. And who could blame me for thinking these are laser strikes when you at first look? But learning is the process of discarding old ideas with new ideas that explain what you're doing in a better way and that allow you to navigate the environment better. But what that requires is you humbling yourself and admitting I was wrong. The information I had was incomplete and in many cases completely incorrect. And there are some people who insist on continue pushing this story about directed energy weapons and ignoring all of the evidence that I've shown them in a recent video I uploaded titled Proof that it's not directed energy weapons, showing 10 examples from around me in the local neighborhood within 1 mile of me that show the release of this electricity in ways that are provably not directed, intentional, or weaponized. But they choose to ignore that, much like academia ignores any evidence that runs contrary to their storyline in the textbook that they're writing, so they can keep selling their same story. They call it a oops, out of place, pluralize it with a S on the end, OOPS. And when mainstream academia is shown out of place artifacts that runs contrary to their narrative about history or geology or archaeology, they first try to explain it away and squeeze it back into the bookends of their theology, essentially, their cosmology, their paradigm, their narrative that they're pushing because they're the authority on the subject matter. They'll try to explain this evidence in a way that it fits with the story they're telling. And when they can't, they just ignore the evidence. And there are people out there covering these fires that are doing exactly that. Ignore those 10 examples where it's provably non-directed, not intentional, and not weaponized, so that I can keep saying, they're attacking us with this technology and their directed energy. Let's look at what I used to say. Spanish Fork River Park Bridge that I've spoken of with the 18 laser strikes. One, and you'll notice there's a metal beam here. That straight edge is a metal beam. This one has a diagonal metal beam, but most of them start on one metal beam and go one way or the other. They're all the same width. And it doesn't go from hot to medium to cold. You don't see any burn here. It goes from absolute burn to zero in the same 1.5 inch width, like a laser strike. Let's just call it what it is. That's a laser strike, and there's 18 more. Here, 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 all placing the shot of these directed energy weapons. So I'll just go through and show you. They all seem to come off of one of these metal beams, like what's right there, and I'll show you from the bottom side too. We'll get under here and show you. So there's two. Again, that one comes off of this beam, but it's going underneath. All placing the... So before we continue, while I'm sitting here telling you they're all placing the shot of these lasers, I'm also showing you something else that proves these aren't lasers. That each one of these burn stripes comes off of one of the metal beams that runs under the bridge. 80% of them come off of a metal beam, and 80% of them land on a crack between two of the boards, between two of the planks, like electricity finding the path of least resistance. Notice that as I'm showing you these, 80% of them come off of one of the metal beams. A metal beam is a conductor of electricity. 80% of them land, and here's the kicker, 80% of them land right on the crack where two boards butt together. That's impossible if you're shooting lasers from space. To hit each one, 80% of them, on a crack between two boards. That's electricity finding the path of least resistance, like those large metal railings along the side and the framework underneath of the bridge is all electrified, and it's burning the wood, but it's burning it in a way that shows you it's electricity, not lasers. Shot of these directed... So I'll just go through and show you. They all seem to come off of one of these metal beams, like what's right there, and I'll show you from the bottom side too. Oops, I forgot to turn the microphone on. What I was saying is that one's right on a crack. You could see it as we walked up. Rewind the video if you need to. Keep your eye out for that on the rest of these, and tell yourself, is it possible that laser strikes are going to hit on the crack between two boards where boards butt together, or is that electricity? Are you capable of learning? Old ideas with new. I will also add to that the ones that are burned in the middle of a board, which this one that we're looking at right now appears to be, you can see the crack on both ends of the burn. So just like the ones, 80% of them that land on the crack between two separate planks where they butt together, the ones that hit the middle of a board are also on a crack line. You can see it. Ergo, it's the same phenomenon, electricity finding the path of least resistance, whether it's where two boards butt together, creating a crack, or where there's already a crack in the wood that happens to be in the middle of the board. They all have that pattern. Are going to hit on the crack between two boards where boards butt together, or is that electricity? Are you capable of learning, discarding old ideas with new? Are you capable of swallowing your pride and humbling yourself, or are you going to keep pushing your nonsense, flooding the zone with shit? We'll get under here and show you. So there's two. Again, that one comes off of this beam, but it's got a diagonal going underneath. This one comes off of that beam right here and goes this way a little bit. Here's three more. This one, I don't know if you can see the beam, and maybe this one's like one of the exceptions. And maybe this one too. Most of them come off of a beam, but all of them have some similarity. They're all this wide and zero burn on either side. That's a laser strike, and to hit this one bridge 18 times was target practice. When they charge up the directed energy weapons like the Athena by Lockheed Martin, by the ionized atmosphere, check out Ilana Freeland, Under an Ionized Sky. The ambient plasma burns the poles and everything else I've been showing you, but this is the directed energy weapon shots. Okay? That's what these are. I'll go on, come back and show you some more. This one again, here's the beam right here that it comes off of. So most of them start at one of these beams where you see these two bolts. Again, like that one, no, that wasn't a shot. I'd say that was just something weird. All of them go clear through, what is this, like 2.5 inch thick wood? Again, like that.
This next one that we're about to look at, I just rewound it for a second, is the perfect example of one that didn't hit between two boards where they butt up against each other, but where there is a large crack coming from a knot in the wood, which creates the same path of least resistance for the electricity to burn.
No, that wasn't a shot. I'd say that was just something weird. All of them go clear through.
So this plank, here's one edge of the plank, here's the other edge of the plank, and that's where most of the burns end up happening, is where two planks come together and it creates that crack. But on this one, it burned right there along this crack that already exists within the board. I think that's pretty telling. I think that's conclusive.
What is this, like 2.5 inch thick wood? Without leaving any burn signature on either side. Those are lasers, okay? That's what this was, target practice. Firing up those dudes. And I'll get underneath and show you all these from the bottom side, or at least the ones I can, where the water allows us to. So let's catch these last few. There's another one. Here's this one. This one has metal all the way under it. See this bar that's running under it? You can almost not even see through it. So there's a vertical beam here on the left and a horizontal beam running under it. I guess that kind of doesn't matter. I'm just narrating what I see so you can see it when you're watching the playback. Here's the beam on that side, and it runs this way a little. Almost all of them start one of these beams and go one way or the other. So now let's look back at what we're looking at here. Like I said, there's 18 of them, and they're all pretty much evenly spaced across this bridge. That was target practice. That's placing your shot, and that's pretty accurate. On the day of the fire, a friend of mine lives in the area. I'll tell you that. What I'll show you.
So this was in the Spanish Fork River Park Bridge is what this one is. There was a large plasma fire around this bridge in 2018, and that whole plasma fire was an electric wildfire. And the ones that burned in the middle of a board, rather than on the edge of a board where it butts up against the next one, had a big crack running through the board.
It's a laser. And there were 8 of these laser strikes along the bridge, and they had to replace 25 boards. That means half of them did what this one did, hit right in between two boards. Because here's the milled flat surface where it butted up against another board, and it did the same thing there, burned all the way through, And this one has a little bit of a temperature gradation where you can see a little bit of burning, but bottom line is there's like a straight line between the point where it got so hot that it burned and completely disappeared. I'd say that's 2 feet. That's as long as my elbow from there to there. That's about 2.5, almost 3 feet from here to here. So it disappeared the wood in the middle of the board and left 0 burn signature on either side. So it went from super duper hot right here to nothing to hot right here again with nothing in between. That's a laser strike. Think Star Wars. That's your best way to understand what you're looking at.
No, don't think Star Wars. I've learned and grown, and you can see that there was a big crack along the board right where that burn is, and that's why these 2 boards split right where the burn is, because there was already a giant crack running down the middle of the board. So for the same reason that most of them burned right where 2 boards butt up against each other, because there's that crack that gives the electricity a path of least resistance. Likewise, with each one of these that burned in the middle of the board, there's a giant crack running down the middle of the board, which is why the burn ended up there on that crack in the path of least resistance, because it was electricity, not lasers. Learn, grow. The only way you can learn anything is from a place of I don't know. And if you want to talk like you know and pretend to be the authority on the subject matter, then you have to conceal what you don't know and keep the people you're talking to real dumb and ignorant about the subject so that they look up to you and whatever you say sounds real smart and intelligent. The only way you can learn anything is from a place of I don't know. And to whatever extent you think you know something on any subject out there, then on that subject, and to that extent, you are incapable of learning. Which is more important to you, to look smart or actually become smart? Because every time that you forfeit the opportunity to become smart by going, oh yeah, I know, it's all about the land grabs and directed energy weapons and smart cities and mining operations and data centers. Yeah, I got it all figured out. You forfeit the opportunity to learn because you're more interested in appearing smart about a subject rather than saying, I don't know, and actually becoming smart. As he said in The Devil's Advocate, vanity, my favorite sin. Okay, that last part was a little bit of leakage of something I've been biting my tongue about for a long time. Here on the screen you can see a video I uploaded March 24th. And I've really been holding back. I don't want to release these videos. I've got like a few of them already. I was hoping that somebody might learn their lesson and I wouldn't have to teach them. I'm about to purge me some demons.
Tracy's working for the devil. Yep, just like on Waterboy. That's the devil. I'm about to purge me some demons. And show you how Tracy's working for the devil. Yep, just like on Waterboy. That's the devil. That's the devil working through.
So I might have to follow up and just let it rip here in a little bit, but I've been really holding back. Look forward to the Derwin Award series when they come out.